Leadership begins with one major thing. And what do you think that is? Show of hands. Like, give me someone actually like stand up. Yes, you. Attitude, that's a great one. What else? Right there. One more time? Responsibility. That's a great one too. Yes, all the way in the back. Respect. That's a good one. Yes. Courage. Awesome. Yes. One more. One more time. Passion. Yes. Would you all agree with those statements? Yeah. So they're all characteristics, right? So one of the things that I have found after 24 years of being in the Marine Corps is modeling behavior, right? All of the best Marines that I've ever had the pleasure of working under were able to model their behavior consistently, not just every once in a while. And developing that kind of behavior takes time. It takes your own consistency of thought and applying passion and respect and all these other characteristics that you guys listed out, right? It seems like a no-brainer, doesn't it? So how difficult is that? How difficult is it to create that kind of consistency on a daily basis? Do you think it's hard? Have you tried it? Yeah, it is hard because you have to wake up every day and say, all right, I'm going to be the best example I can possibly be, knowing that I'm probably going to make some mistakes, right? But that's the way it goes. And that's okay. You're going to make mistakes. That's the art of leadership. You know how people say you practice law or you practice medicine? Well, we practice leadership. And when we lead people, we're trying to gain their trust and their confidence. And so how can you do that? How do you gain someone's trust that you don't know? Yeah. You with the glasses right there. Motivation. So how you motivate someone to do something? What? Sound off. Like yell at them? I'm just kidding. Not yell at them, but you're leading towards being an example, right? That's how you do it. So remember when you guys first got into your bands, did you find somebody in your band that you wanted to emulate? That you wanted to be just like? How many of you guys found that person? Yes, it's a necessity. Does that person know that that's who you're looking at? Did you tell them? Oh, they don't. Okay. Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you tell them? What was it? Oh, no, it's not because you're an idiot freshman. That's not it. It's really because you're trying to just keep on watching. That's what ends up happening. A long time ago, the cadets of Bergen County, their drumline instructor used to hand out this thing called the Quad Bible. Okay, I'm a drummer, that's why I know this. So, yeah, nice. How many drummers again? I love it. Nice. So, in the Quad Bible, what it said was, you find someone in the drum line that you want to most be like. And that's how that drum line began to get good. It wasn't just because people were exceptionally gifted with playing drums. It's because they had exceptional models for people that weren't so exceptional to become exceptional. That's the difference. And the same thing happens in the Marine Corps. When I came in the Marine Corps, I could only, in boot camp, I ran a 3-mile in 24 minutes. How many of you guys are on track right now? Like you run track. So that might seem slow to some of you guys, right? Like 24 minutes, 3 miles, you're a loser. Just kidding. But as I went on and I started to find people that could run faster than me, then I learned how to run fast. I learned that my heart rate had just as much to do with running fast as actually turnover with my feet. But unless someone explained that to me, I wouldn't have known. So then I was suddenly running sub-18 minute 3 miles. I don't do that anymore, by the way. I'm 44. That's not happening. But the point is that once we're shown the way, what do we do with what we've been shown? And that's definitely in your books. It isn't what you know, it's what do you do with what you know, right? And so that leads me to the biggest tool that I can leave everybody in this room with as a leader, and that's intention. The word intention. And sometimes we lace things into places that become too cliche for us to actually pay attention to them. But if there's one thing that I absolutely know is totally true, is that if you're intent on doing something, you will do it. Beyond the shadow of a doubt. I had a Marine a long time ago who was habitually late. Every time, and every excuse, Top, my tire was flat. Show me a picture. I want to see a picture right now. Where's the flat tire? Or my alarm didn't go off, or whatever. But then when his mother became really, really ill, it was at the same time that we had one of the worst blizzards in Virginia. And not only did he suffer another car problem on the way down there, but he overcame it and still got there in time before she passed away. But that's because he was intent. But he couldn't crossbreed that mindset into the daily use of that. You see what I mean? You see the example I'm trying to say here? It's what we do on a daily basis with our intentions. And notice that the word intention has two other words in it. Intensity and tension, right? So why does intention have tension attached to it? What's so tense about creating intensity? Where do you get tension from? Because sometimes our intentions create conflict with what we already have as habits, right? Like, okay, I need to eat better. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means I'm not going to have pizza tonight. Or that means I'm not going to have that ice cream that I thought I was going to have, right? So it creates tension in us. And then there's intensity, but not the kind of intensity where you're like, try and really get all tense, but the kind where you're like, my goal is to achieve this, and it's going to take time. And so I have to pay attention to it with intensity over a long period of time, not a short one. Does that make sense to everybody? This is real. Like, the more intent you are, the better it's going to be. How many of you guys have ever heard of something called a structural tension chart? You ever heard of that before? Oh, up here. Who can explain it? Can someone explain it to me? So structural tension is where you take your dreams and put them at the bottom of a page, and then you put where you want to be at the top. So current reality and perceived reality. And then you draw an arrow, and you list out all of the things that go along with trying to achieve what you want. Because it creates structural tension in your brains because you see the diagram, and it's a call to action every day. You know that you're more likely to actually achieve what you want if you physically write something. Not if you type it, but if you take your pen and actually write it down. Because the neural pathways, the connections that you create by making a physical list are far different than making one on a computer. Because it makes you want to move. It makes you want to take action. So you use that to begin to become a better leader with people. You have to be able to have your own set of, you can't hunt for the edge or hunt to get better without some reason to do it and a way ahead, right? You have to write those things down. So think about all the things in your bands that you want to make better. You guys talk about it like when you're having lunch or whatever, but do you write it down and say, okay, if we're going to make it better, what do we have to do? And so the next part for all of you, every one of you is a drum major in here, right? Okay, I was wrong. Good. Okay, but we have a mix, obviously. But being drum major, of course, I'm going to talk to this drum majors. Let me see all the hands for drum majors in here. Okay, that's a lot. Okay, nice. So you have what we call positional authority. Who knows what that is? Yes. Right, well, very good. So authority because of the result of a position, which in this case, being called the drum major is your authority, right? You now have some decision making. Very little, but you do. The drum major is a weird place. You're not really the band staff, but you're not really in the band anymore either, right? It's kind of this limbo world. But at the same time, you're expected to lead the band and follow the intent of the band director, right? So sometimes that's hard to do when you're trying to lead who? your friends, right? Especially people that you've been growing up with since kindergarten. How many people have people in your bands where you come up since kindergarten all the way to now, right? Yeah. So then, nice, that's awesome. Because then you get the bro talk. You know what that is? Dude, are you serious with this? Like, are you really serious we're gonna do this? And then you're like, well, yes, we're gonna do this. Come on, use your drum major powers and get us out of that. And you can't. But that's a hard position to be placed into by your friends, right? How many of you have been placed in that position yet? Yeah. So you know the answer is? You say to your friend since kindergarten, hey, we have to do it this way. So can you help me do this? And they're going to have two answers. It's going to be either like, okay, I'll do it. Or it'll be like, well, can we maybe do it different? And if there's some incentive involved, then maybe it might be better. Either way, there's a solution. But it should never be something that ends the friendship, that's for sure, right? So if you find yourself in that position, use that. But also use tact. Is that like a major thing? You know, you don't want to yell at people. Everyone looks at this uniform and thinks that that gives me carte blanche to yell at anybody I want to, right? Like a lot of stripes right here. That just means I'm old. That's all that means. You know, and a lot of people think that that's how Marines lead, but we don't. In fact, what happens is when the commanding officer sits down and takes over a new unit, he comes up or she comes up with two things: a command philosophy and commander's intent. And they publish that in written format, and then all of the leaders below that commanding officer, we sit around a table and we're like, well, what's the best way to achieve what he wants to do? And then we go back and talk to the CO, and then we say, all right, sir, we think we have a way forward. Let's do this. Do your band directors do that with you? No? Well, that's okay, you know, because it's not the Marine Corps. But the thing is that you do know what your band directors intend for you to do, though, right? All of you know. And there's an expected amount of conduct in the way to do it. So the best way to talk about that stuff is by kind of sitting down and saying, well, I know the band director wants this, 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 and this. So how are we going to get there? And that's a team effort. And that's how Marines lead, too. It's not just one person. It's a whole group of people, right? I know that kind of blows people's minds. Did that blow anyone's mind in here? Like you didn't probably think that's the way it went? But it really is. We actually sit down and we discuss things in a normal conversational tone. It's not all boot camp, I promise. And then we figure out what we're going to do. So for you guys, you have to decide what you're going to do. And that's going back to what I was talking about with intention. Being intent on completing something means, one, that you're focused, and at the same time you can be consistent and you can persevere through things. Being in band's tough, isn't it? Freshmen in here, is it tough? Or have you even figured it out yet? Okay, how about sophomores? We'll go with sophomores. Yeah. It depends on the band you're in, too, because some bands are really over the top with their shows. The visual programming that's happening right now in marching band is off the chart, right? It demands a lot of you, doesn't it? Physically, mentally, everything. So, because of that, you have to learn how to get people to do things without coercing them and actually make them do it because they thought your idea was their idea. That's another Marine Corps concept. We lead by edifying the people that are above us and carrying out what's being asked of us as if it was our own idea. Think of that the next time that you are totally at odds with what's being asked of you. Like, there is no way I'm going to do that. But now, as the drum major, you have to do that. You have to. Even if it's a conflict with you as a person. You have to carry it out as if it was your idea. And when you do that, everything runs a lot more smoothly. I promise. Any questions? Yes, geez, that went fast. What was that? Oh, well, thank you. So, in closing, I'm going to thank you, not to create a loop of thank yous, but thank you for being so attentive, and I hope that this was very helpful. But I will say this, I got to choose what I wanted to do to serve this country by being a musician, because that's what I did for 19 years. I was a snare drummer. Yes, that job is available. You can be a marching snare drummer for a career. But thank you for allowing me that opportunity. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a great summer.